Hi guys, unusual format here, but I just couldn't find anywhere quiet to make this video, so I'm taking a walk and making it. So it's about ask, insist, demand, enforce. It's a four-step process for how to ask anyone to do something. And it's way more effective than probably whatever you're doing so far when you ask someone to do it. So here's how it goes. It's called AIDE. AIDE, ask, insist, demand, enforce. So here's how it goes. The first thing you do with the ask step, you ask someone to do something. And this will make more sense in a minute. You do it at a pressure of 2 out of 10. So just your urgency, the energy in how you ask for it, it's a 2 out of 10. So not that much. And it's just, hey, would you be willing to do this? And you want to make clear why it's important. And it's good to ask them if they can even sort of reiterate why it's important to you, just so you know that they get that it's important to you. And it's best to set a time by when they're going to do it, so that you can hold them accountable and you know if they've done it or not. Now let's say they didn't do it. Then you have to escalate to the insist stage. And with insist, it's a pressure of 5 out of 10. So there's a little more urgency in your voice as you ask. And you say, hey, we said that, you said that you'd be able to do this thing by this time. You haven't done it. Make sure they understand why it's important. And check in with them, that it makes sense to them. Ask them if anything got in the way, because maybe something did, and that's why they didn't do it. But there's obviously a greater urgency when you show up with a pressure of 5 out of 10, as opposed to the 2 out of 10 in the ask stage. And if they still, got a barking dog here. Hey. If they still haven't done it, after the second time, you get to the demand stage. In demand, you're at a pressure of 8 out of 10. So there's a real sense of urgency here, and it's, hey, we've said twice before that you're going to do this thing. We've made clear why it's important. You can check in if there's any reason why they haven't done it. And the key thing with the demand stage, you've got it's 8 out of 10 pressure, so there's more urgency in your voice and how you're saying it. And you're also letting them know what happens in the last stage, the enforce stage, which is if you don't do it this third time, there's going to be a consequence. And where I have run into this before is I've had students who were disrespectful in how they interacted with me in the tutoring. And I had to, make clear, hey, I only work with students who show up in a respectful manner. And after I brought it up a couple of times, I had to make clear that there was an enforce part. And the enforce part is, listen, I don't work with students who don't show up in a respectful manner. So the enforce part is that there's a consequence. And you introduce the enforce part in the demand stage. So when you're showing up with 8 out of 10, listen, we've talked about this before. Twice before you said you were going to do this, you didn't do it. If you don't do it this time, there's going to be a consequence. The last stage is the enforce stage, which is whatever you said the consequence was in the demand step, you have to carry through on it. There's a few things that ask, insist, demand, enforce does really well. First of all, it doesn't leave you in the situation of herding cats, constantly asking people to do something and they're just not doing it, and you just don't know how you're going to get through. The escalation of pressure is really important to getting the message to sink in. And then you got to be for real about executing on the consequence. I don't have students who remain disrespectful with me. It's rare that ever happens, but if it does happen, it ends. I've never had a student who kept doing it and then I actually had to end the relationship. And I would have been willing to. They got in line once I got to the demand stage and I let them know the consequence if they did it again. So this helps you avoid getting into the herding cat situation. It also, sometimes what we do is we have an expectation for someone. We haven't really communicated to them when we want something done by or why it's important to us. And we just get really upset with them for not having done it the first time. And to them, it comes out of the blue and you're showing up to them at an 8 out of the 10 and you're upset with them, 8 out of 10 pressure, and they're just like, where did this come from? So there's an escalation and an education of the person. So they have a learning curve, and they've chances to make mistakes and not get it right, and they've got a second and a third chance to get it right. And that really fits just the humanness of all of us, how we need multiple chances before we learn something. Never is that more clear than in tutoring. Students need repeated practice before they get it right. So the ask, insist, demand, enforce, there's just 3-4 steps in there that the other person has a chance to really learn why this matters and how important it is to you, so they can finally execute on it. Anything else? I think that's it on ask, insist, demand, enforce. So keep this in mind, so that you're not stuck herding cats, but you're also not exploding on people for not having done something that you really haven't communicated clearly. And you'll find that it's just extremely effective in your situations with students, but honestly anywhere in your life. So hope that's helpful. Ask, insist, demand, enforce. All right.